Hey everyone, today we're going to take my data science intern's resume from this to this. We are going to use BeamJobs, who's also the sponsor for today's video. BeamJobs is the #1 resume generating tool. We're going to be using BeamJobs to kind of basically revamp Richard's resume today so that anyone who views his resume will immediately want to pick up the phone and call him and hire him on the spot. Check out the link in the description if you guys want to get a discount off your first resume. Let's just go through their custom templates, and why don't you just choose one right here that you think looks good?
I like the simpler styles, like the professional one, Ronna Jackson. That one
This one?
kind of looks pretty. Yeah, looks pretty professional to me.
This one looks just like your existing resume. I mean, let's just use a professional one if this is what stands out to you.
I mean, maybe it's boring. I just like more boring styles, but that's just kind of what stood out to me.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, it's okay to be boring. Okay, so I'm uploading your resume, and wow, your resume score is already great. It's at 94, but I think there's probably some things that we can improve. Let's go first through like your latest work experience, just at a high level. When I look at your resume, I think that one, there's a couple of things that we can improve here, right? And the main thing is that the first thing says data scientist, which is great. TSMC, offline production engineer, inline supervising production engineer, process improvement engineer. So these three things behind you are not as related to your actual data science thing, but your current one that says data scientist is fine. So there's a general pivot here. I think adding some sort of like summary or like, how did I go from like manufacturing planner to data scientist might be useful in your summary. Or just in your headline, that's basically describing who you are as like a candidate here, right? So how do I add this objective section? Objective here. So what is your objective, Richard?
I'm looking for a data-oriented job in the semiconductor industry. I don't know, how would you construct, like, it's like a 1 or 2 sentence kind of thing, right? Is that generally the structure?
Yeah, so I think objective should be one, it should talk about who you are as a person, and then it should also like be stating exactly what you're looking for. And so you said it right pretty well. Like you are looking for something in the semiconductor industry, right? So you should say something more like first experienced semiconductor, like I would say like experienced semiconductor engineer, planner. I don't know, what do you call yourself in the semiconductor industry?
I'd say manufacturing engineer. That's my previous experience, but
engineer transitioning into data science.
Yeah.
So we probably had to actually start out with like you're a data scientist. So you'd be like something like scrappy data scientist with extensive semiconductor manufacturing experience, right? So that's just like the literal version of it, right? But like now what's your like objective? So this is kind of like your background, and now let's go into like, what is your true objective, like headline?
See, I'm transitioning into a more data-oriented role.
What is your goal? Your goal is to get a data science job, but like what beyond getting a data science job is there? Let's keep on pushing the boundaries, right? So like, for example, let me say like my objective running interview query is to grow interview query to a multi-million-dollar business over the next few years. Like that's kind of like an objective, right? That's like objective. So like for yourself, you could say that you want to be an experienced data scientist, but no one wants to like just be like, okay, I want to hire someone who wants to be experienced data scientist. You want to like, they want someone who wants to be part of their mission, be a part of their company, right? So how would you kind of frame this?
I'd say use data to influence business decisions, grow my data science experience, become an expert in extracting data, extracting insights from actual semiconductor machines or the manufacturing process in order to influence the business. I'm not really putting this into like a very coherent objective statement. But that's kind of the vibe I'm going for.
Okay, sure. We could probably chat GPT work in, but like what I have right now and initially is like scrappy data scientist. Maybe scrappy isn't word, but like be like basically like we could use it. I like the term scrappy data scientist with extensive semiconductor and with like let's say like 5+ years of semiconductor and manufacturing experience to combine to with an objective to become an expert in applying machine learning to improve manufacturing and business processes. All right. So let's do like an initial V1 right there, right? Like you're trying to apply ML to like this new domain of like semiconductor manufacturing. And we are doing this because specifically you're applying for a job also at Intel, right? Like you're applying to this job at Intel. It's a data science job. And we can basically use this also to customize our systems here, right? Like they're seeking a data scientist who's expert at data wrangling, analyzing massive and complex data sets, right? And so we should be using this as kind of a general, kind of forcing function for how we write our resume as well. And that's what I used to do as well when working on my resume was like, look at the job that I was targeting or the industry I was targeting and use a lot of the same language there in my actual resume, right? And so let's go through your actual specific objective improvements here. So we've done the objective. Let's move to quantifying your impact. So yeah, it looks like you have a pretty low score in quantifying your impact. And that's something I definitely see, right? Where you're looking at like something like this, where it's like worked on wafer forecasting model, right? This is not good. You're basically telling me like what you did when what I want to know is like what impact you had. So yeah, like I know you built data pipelines, you worked on a wafer forecasting model, but like what did that work do, right? So let's go through each of these line by line, because this one is like the most objectively bad one and like improve it. So what did you actually do on this?
So I don't really have a number to quantify it with because it required like capturing, how accurate that model was before the work and after the work. And there was no data to capture that. It was not saved anywhere. Required like a lot of working with IT to like capture these. It just didn't exist. The infrastructure wasn't there. And I was the only person working on this project at that point.
Yeah. Sounds like a classic company issue where you can't quantify what you did was good or bad.
So in situations like these, what should I say on a resume? Should I just?
Well, you should have put it at the first bullet point, right? Like what I first should have done was like, okay, out of all of these 5 things, which ones actually like impacted like the most, right? So like, I think the framework you should be using is like write down all the things that you did at the company, then write down like rank them in terms of like level of impact that they made on the company. If you can like quantify it, then rank them on like how data related they were because you're transitioning into a data role, right? Yeah. And then just like add those numbers together and then figure out which one is the top one to then like, be like, okay, this is the most data related, right? And we can basically do this right now, right? So like if I go to the Google Sheets and I go to, I'm just going to create a blank sheet, right? So like impact data related. Okay, let's do this like from a score of like 1 to 10. All right. Okay. So like what was the impact of this? Improve wafer forecasting model. You have no idea, right?
I mean, I know it was useful and it helped, but I can't like say a number. If I were to just give,
how do you know it was useful?
Because this forecasting model was used like every day extensively.
Okay, so I mean, let's just put 5 for now. Built data pipelines. What was this? You got to add more to this for sure. Like, what was building data pipelines?
So that was mainly for these like dashboards, Power BI reports. I'd say this bullet and the bullet 2 down are interconnected.
Same thing. All right. Okay. I'm just going to delete this. Okay. Provide leadership and strategy to the fab modules and manufacturing to drive, hit, or exceed monthly production targets.
So this bullet was like my main job at WaferTech as a planner. That was like we made a plan daily, like what tools should be more prioritized, worked on. That was basically operations planning.
So a little bit of data, maybe like not as much. This one is probably like much more data related. So I'll put this like a 4. This one is pretty data related as well. Like it's not directly machine learning, but it's like, you're building Excel, Power BI. Oh, I guess because you're using Excel and Power BI, it's not as good. But I guess because you use SQL too. So I would say like SQL, Excel, and Power BI. right? Okay, so sure, let's make this like 7. Analyze customer order data to set production targets.
Yeah, this was like monthly capacity planning. That was also part of like the main job as a planner at WaferTech.
And did you improve anything here, or like what was the value or the impact here?
This was basically saying like what could we actually produce in a month and how to set our targets for every tool set based on the technology that we were producing at WaferTech. So I'd say I would equate that to the second bullet point, because that's basically setting how much we could produce every month at WaferTech for the whole factory.
Creation of tables in the database, experience with maintaining the data pipelines that transform raw data into tables that are widely used.
So that and bullet 3 are very similar, I'd say.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay, so like you kind of built, okay, so we could say like this is like the full stack experience. All right, so this one is again more data related and impact maybe also high. Okay, so clearly I think what we should do after reading all of these is we should first we should probably figure out how to combine these two into one big bullet point. We should make this improved wafer forecasting model into something that you could like, basically quantify in some realm, and just do it back of the envelope estimate. If someone like dives in onto this, you can, it's fine. And then lastly, you can probably talk more about this as being more like your primary thing. And so in reality, we really do have just like 3 bullet points here, right? And so let's go back to beam jobs and kind of like first kind of take the first bullet point here, right? And I think the first thing that we really want to focus on is the fact that you created like this like full stack data pipeline in my mindset to be like created a full stack data pipeline to present results to stakeholders, right? Which is basically, and that impact was that you basically created a dashboard and that helped management of tools and wafer resources. So basically, why would people use this dashboard?
Let's say like a production supervisor is looking at this dashboard. They could tell like what kind of wafers are coming to that tool. And then they could then tell like equipment engineers like, yeah, it's okay to take this tool down for maintenance for today or not. And basically plan different work around the tools on different days based on the incoming capacity for these tool sets.
Okay, so what would happen if they didn't have this dashboard?
They wouldn't know how to plan work around these tools. Like say if this tool is a bottleneck, like for the whole fab, if this tool, this stage was critical for the monthly output and there's a lot of wafers there at that day, and you take it down for machine work, then you're basically reducing the amount of monthly wafer output. And that's just hits the bottom line directly.
I'm basically talking about what you did in 2 steps. So this is what you did. This is how it made an impact. And that's basically the easiest framework we can use, right? Like basically like you try to summarize what you did in that project. Like you told me this thing for 5 minutes and I try to summarize it into like 2 sentences. And that's basically what you have to do for all of this stuff going forward. Okay. All right. So let's then delete this, create a full stack SQL. And then you want to inject these like keywords here, right? Like SQL, other stuff like that, Excel, Power BI. That's all great because that's what people want. And then also if you look here, you also have to look at what they use, right? Like database, qualifications, they have Power BI, right? That's great. Excel, web scraping, SQL, right? So we'll use Power BI in the right way. Let's do an Excel and Power BI dashboard. So we could delete this now. Now let's talk about this wafer model. So you improved the wafer forecasting model to, so like you said, improved existing wafer forecasting model by adding additional manufacturing features. What was it? Toolset maintenance or something like that? Like
it was like lot wait time, efficiency, lost time,
Okay, I'm just gonna add these in parentheses. Lost times, tool set, what?
efficiency, lot wait time, and
Lot
then
wait
like
time,
technology.
technology, just general technology.
I guess product is the better word because there's different like what I mean by technology is like there's like 1.8 flash is the type of semiconductor that we're producing, or like 2.5 flash, SRAM. Product is probably the better word.
Okay, so improved existing wafer formatting model by adding additional manufacturing features and to this, and then I'm gonna add this again. So like this improved. What does this do again? This improved like efficiency
Planning,
again, right?
yeah,
Operational efficiency essentially for wafer output.
wafer output, and then planning around like operational like tool maintenances and other operation related.
Maintenance to increase, like all you guys had to do was increase wafer output, right?
Yeah, that was the whole job, was to make sure we set these targets, that targets are achievable, and then we hit these targets.
To hit monthly wafer targets. So I'm just basically going to reframe it in a different way
Okay.
of why. All right. Okay. So I'm just going to delete the rest of these two and then jump into this one on interview query, because this is probably the more important one because it's more related to data science as well. So you're a data scientist. Now you're a junior data scientist. Let's get that right. So let's talk about this one. And then I want to then maybe you should probably just do the rest of these right here because this video is getting pretty long. And I feel like everything, like the one thing that I always tell people is that nothing really matters except for your experience. So even this stuff that people are like, oh, you don't have projects or that many skills, and it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, they're looking at your work experience. And so analyze customer behavior and implement a recommendation system. Okay. So like this one, wrote complex SQL queries to analyze content and product metrics. Like that is not good enough, right? Like we need more information on like what actually happened and what actually made the business impact here, right? So like not just that you wrote complex SQL queries, like what were these content and product metrics for?
Understanding like what questions on interview query were most liked, most impactful, and that customers got the most value out of, and from there understanding what questions to like focus efforts on developing solutions for and just putting resources into.
Okay, so like again, when you say wrote complex SQL queries, people don't really care the tool you use. So I would say like analyze, right? Like you just analyze content and product metrics to identify problematic questions, right? To improve, to flag for content moderators, to improve overall content quality on the site, right? This is a better, I think, way to just describe what you did, but we still have to quantify the impact of actually what you did, right? Same thing for the second bullet point right here, right? Create dashboards on customer feedback, cancellation flow, and content moderation to visualize product analytics and facilitate decision-making. So yes, this is describing what you did, but what actual impact did it do, right? So like by having this cancellation flow, customer feedback dashboard, what did that allow us to do next?
Understand like what price points customers cancel at, their, the trend of whether they or not they claim like a retention offer, or
like we can understand those, but what impact does that have for us to understand it? Like
it changes like
right?
I'd say it changes like the decisions made around like product price points, or I think it's just where to put like resources on developing content. I guess it's pretty similar to the fourth bullet point for this one, but there are additional different things too.
Yeah. So like I'd say dashboards most of the time help us with either improving like the insight into like actions that we can take next, right? So instead of like a customer feedback person going in and doing something, we actually have a dashboard where a leadership person can go make a decision off of what they see, right? So I see this dashboard that you made on customer feedback and the cancellation flow. I can now go and say, okay, let's change the cancellation flow, or let's, reduce the price of this product. So because we are seeing not enough people basically taking in our retention offer, or let's improve the retention offer, right?
Yeah.
But then again, you didn't do those things because we're not doing them right now. So maybe this is just more motivation for you to work on things that actually drive an impact so you can write them on your resume, right, for the next 2 months. So, we can write these things that you are going to do, right, or have done, or made the impact to do, but it's actually a good, helpful driver for you understanding what you should be doing in the future as well. So I'll say what we'd like to see is created dashboards and created customer feedback dashboards that helped drive leadership towards towards decision making, that help surface insights to leadership to drive decision making on price changes and retention offers that increased revenue by X percentage. All right. So maybe that's the next task we do, is that we look at these customer feedback dashboards and then we actually try to find that insight there. Right.
Okay.
Being able to say that and that you actually did increase revenue is a huge thing, right? Because this is the feedback mechanism that we want here. Business analytics, data pipelines. So you could also say that kind of was part of the business analytics data pipeline as well. Analyze customer behavior and implement a recommendation system. This is the project you're working on right now, right?
Yeah, that's still in progress.
Okay, cool. So the goal for this is that we analyze customer study behavior on interview query and built a machine learning model to improve the question recommendation system to drive Y percentage increase in active user engagement. So now we have kind of the placeholders here, and you can kind of see how it's coming into becoming a little bit of a better thing. So we're going to go back, recalculate score. Let's see what happens. Let's change this. So we could say led the improvement of that's a great thing. Back to overall score, 92, resume length, bullet point length, some bullet point lengths. Bullet point lengths are too long. Okay, this one is 281 characters. What the data says, 10 bullet points. Okay, so we should probably try to condense this a little bit. So 2 to 200 characters each. That one's okay. I don't think that one matters as much. Consistent punctuation. Oh, they should end in a period. Okay, sure. Okay, well, we can we'll recalculate that. Avoid filler words. Yeah. Okay, so there are a lot of filler words in this one, but this is at the bottom of your resume, so it doesn't really matter as much, I think. And quantifying your impact. Yeah. So if we just added numbers here, then we'll have fixed this and we'll actually have improved it. Okay, so awesome. So we have a generally much better resume now that Richard can fill in. Overall, Richard, I think the resume, we've created a better template for you to kind of go forward with this, and then also understanding what you need to work on at your current internship at Interview Query to figure out how to basically drive value towards a business so you can put it on your resume as well. So in general, check this out, and then check out Beam Jobs if you guys have time. There's actually tons of different templates. They have templates across all the different kinds of data science jobs as well. And so if you're looking for a data analyst role, data engineer role, data, anything role, they basically all have templates on that on Beam Jobs. They have resume examples for you, so you can go through and actually find a data engineering resume. And then you can look at all these resume examples for you in your future as well. As you can see, they have it for data analysts across the board as well. And then you can kind of see and compare exactly what a good analyst resume looks like for your future experience, right? So you can see analytics manager, kind of what they did and different things here as well. Oh yeah, and lastly, please check out Interview Query if you guys are looking to ace your data science interviews after you've basically made an awesome resume. Please check out Interview Query for your interview portion once you get a bunch of interviews coming in and you need prep for those. We're the #1 data science interview prep website where we have 600 plus interview questions, courses, and mock interviews for you to go and check out. So check that out as well.